Alright, I've re-recorded this video like 100 times because I don't know how to really say what I'm trying to say here. But I will try my best because I don't really have a script for this. This is all unscripted. This is all from my head because I feel like that is the better thing to do instead of scripting things and, whatever. I want to talk about things my way with, no script, no professionalism, really. I mean, I am trying to be professional, but it's not really at the same time. Dead by Daylight is going to have one of the craziest updates ever, I think. Probably one of the bigger updates ever since the Roots of the Dread one that happened before I started playing, because that one, I think, basically just shifted around the meta so much. But this time, the meta is going to be different for killer players only, essentially. Because here's the issue. Tunneling and slugging, while you may like it or hate it, is a necessary part of Dead by Daylight. I fully, wholeheartedly believe that tunneling and Dead by Daylight are just like, they just belong together. Same with slugging. Slugging, Dead by Daylight. Unfortunately, both of these aren't fun to be on the receiving end of, but they are necessary for the game to still be alive and well, because this is a thing for killer players to have. The issue is that I think it was actually a former game balance director, Almo. No matter how bad he was, really, because I'm pretty sure like he wasn't even good at the game himself. But however bad he was, he did still make a good point that the reason why games like VHS and Texas Chainsaw Massacre all died off was because the survivors were more powerful. Listen, people always say that the game is survivor-sided, and while I might have to agree, the one thing that I can still say is that usually, that's also not the case at the same time. Killers do have a lot of tools that they can use at their disposal, including tunneling and slugging. Tunneling and slugging doesn't exactly exist in either of those games at all. Because of the way that they work, they're very different. And to be honest, whenever I was thinking about it, this made a whole lot of sense. Because Dead by Daylight is such a unique game, I don't really think anyone else has really done the hook mechanic, essentially, the hook, and like the health states mechanic, really, that Dead by Daylight's done. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't mind being corrected. But the main core issue is that Dead by Daylight trying to patch these out it's kind of just weird. It comes off as weird because these are things that I think are part of its identity, whether you or I like it or not, and it just comes off as strange, But to talk about the changes itself, let's finally actually get into the changes instead of talking about the balance of things and whatever. So, for anti-slugging, they want to add base kit tenacity and a 90-second timer, essentially, whenever you go down in dying state, that once that 90-second timer is full and you have full recovery, you can just pick yourself up. Now, it sounds good on the surface. I remember first hearing it myself and I thought, hey, that actually sounds pretty decent, until I thought about it for 1 second and realized that it would have made everyone's lives worse. You may have had to leave a survivor on the ground for many a reason. Let's say, for example, you left a survivor on the ground because, I don't know, you heard another survivor close and you realized that they're trying to come for a flashlight save. Of course, it is completely valid to then go and look for the other survivor because, well, you don't want to just waste your time picking up someone and then having them immediately get saved. That is, obviously not great. So you look around and you down them. Now, before this update, you would be able to get both of them pretty easily and hook them pretty easily. But after this update, let's say that you take a little while longer to hook that second survivor. You come back for the first survivor, and they're gone. You don't know where they are. Eventually, you find them under a pallet. No biggie. You pick them up. Turns out they had Flip-Flop and Power Struggle, which, to be honest, if I'm thinking about it, most likely will become a meta combo. I'm actually being completely serious. This might sound funny, but I think that Power Struggle and Flip-Flop will become a sort of meta combo, because sure, you can counter it if you know what it is and how it works and whatever, but at the same time, Flip-Flop can still like be a huge detriment to things. I don't think boil over will be much of an issue, but yeah, it's either flip-flop power struggle or flip-flop boil over. Those are definitely becoming meta. I can feel it if this goes through. And for the other side, the anti-tunneling. Now, the main anti-tunneling changes are actually pretty good. Hold on, let me pull it up here so I can read off here. Just ignore if you hear my mouse, because I'm having to actually look at this. Okay, I'll read through it in its entirety right here, right now. When a survivor is hooked, their hook status is hidden from the killer. When they're unhooked, there is no notification and their hook status isn't revealed immediately. This effect is disabled once all generators are completed, so once all generators are completed, you can immediately see whenever someone is unhooked and get a notification. Unhooked survivors gain the following effects for a limited time: haste, endurance, and elusive. We know this already, and elusive is just more or less hiding, scratch marks, pools of blood, sound effects, basically that. No collision with other players. Immunity to killer instinct and sees the killer's aura nearby. These effects are lost when the affected survivor performs a conspicuous action, and all these effects except haste and endurance are disabled once all generators are completed. Now, this part is okay, but I think the killer's aura thing is a bit strange. I mean, maybe I just don't understand it. Maybe it's just to help people get away from the killer if they know exactly where they are, but I think this should be maybe for like 5 seconds, not 10. So that's my opinion though. All these effects except haste and endurance are disabled once all generators are completed. But now there's this: added a unique effect to the killer hook state UI that indicates the last survivor they hooked. This is important for later. After completing a unique hook, the same survivor is not hooked consecutively, killers get the following benefits: bonus damage for the next generator kick, temporary haste status effect, temporarily reveals survivors, think Base Kit, Barbecue, and Chili, that have equal or less hook states to the hooked survivor. These effects are all slightly lessened for the Blight, Dark Lord, Ghoul, Hillbilly, and the Nurse, and these effects are disabled once all generators are completed. And then we get to the bad part. Added new effects that disincentivize tunneling. If a survivor dies before 6 total hook states, all remaining survivors get a repair speed bonus for the rest of the trial. If the survivor that was last hooked is sacrificed or killed, generators cannot be regressed or blocked. That last bit, the reason why the unique effect to the killer hook UI that indicates the last survivor they hooked is so important is for that last bit, so you make sure that you don't deny yourself slowdown. But the issue with this, do you want to know the issue with this, is that what if all survivors are running the exact same outfit and survivor? What do you do then? Do you have to memorize which one is which? Do you have to hope that you know which one that you hooked last? Do you have to try and make sure that you don't accidentally do that? What is there you can do? Because what if they're all grouped up, you see multiple chases, and you accidentally down the wrong one? This is going to be a terrible change, unfortunately. And even then, there is another thing that I didn't really think about. New players kill it, like playing killer, or just playing killer for the first time. Most likely, they are the ones who are the most likely to tunnel, hook, or not tunnel, hook. I mean like tunnel, camp, slug, maybe even, because they're trying their best. They're trying to learn what to do, how to win chases and whatever, and they're going to try and win any means necessary. But now, that is made infinitely harder for them. I'm not saying that tunneling or slugging is a good strategy to use whenever you're starting out, but the issue is that most people will use these strategies whenever they are starting out. So it means that the game is made infinitely worse for those people who just want to try killer for the first time. And that is horrible. That is a completely awful change, and will mean that these people will wonder why their killer games are getting so much harder. And they didn't realize it was because they accidentally killed someone who they'd last hooked. Not only that, but this also kills killers like Sadako, for example, who thrive on the Condemned status effect and Mori's, which basically means that they could no longer essentially use their power because they killed someone before getting 6 hooks, they killed someone before all that, and now they get this penalty to them. This is awful. This is completely horrible, and we know that there's no compensation for Sadako at all in this patch, because I looked through the entire patch notes, there's nothing about them. Maybe it's in the patch notes that will drop maybe tomorrow, but I'm kind of holding my breath about everything. This doesn't seem too good. I'm extremely worried for the future of Dead by Daylight, and I hope that Behaviour actually realizes that what they are doing is stupid, because every single other change in this update I think is pretty good. You adding a new Stas effect, the elusive Stas effect, adding actual lore for tomes. The Myers rework is controversial, sure, but it is really cool. I like the idea of slaughtering Strike. Clown getting nerfed, thankfully. The Unknown getting extra vertical range and whatever. Dark Lord getting not Dark Lord, Dracula getting sort of like a buff and a nerf, which is nice. Ghoul getting a nerf, Oni getting a buff, and of course they say various perks are being updated, which is nice. I personally am still lightly excited for the next chapter, but I can't be as excited as I feel like I should be because of the way that Behaviour are handling this. I will just have to wait and see what they do next. That's the end of the video. Sorry if this one seemed a bit more rambly. I want to get back into doing proper content. Trust me, it's just been difficult. But yeah, hopefully content comes back as normal, because I'm trying to do this now as a hobby, I guess. If you did enjoy, please like and subscribe. I know that every single YouTuber on the planet will ask you to do so, but it does help them out a ton with the algorithm, whatever, and I sure need it because I'm 90% sure I'm shadow banned anyways, so please, if you could, it would mean a lot. Thank you, and goodbye.